In this video, I'm going to walk you through every single step of migrating your website over to Webflow. When moving your site to a new platform, there's a very specific process that you must follow if you want to maintain your search engine rankings and your traffic. And if you don't do this properly, it's going to flatline everything. So in this process, there are 10 steps that we're going to go through. And I'm also going to share some resources, both paid and free, that are going to help you do your migrations more efficiently. Also, at the end of this video, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about how much you can charge if you want to start offering migrations like this as a service to clients. So let's get into it. All right, so first let's talk about what a site migration is. A site migration is anytime you're moving your site from one platform to another platform. And oftentimes when moving over to this new platform, the site has lots of updates, lots of changes, lots of improvements, and so the site's going to look different on the new platform. One of the most common scenarios that we deal with are WordPress websites getting moved over to Webflow. Now, there are lots of reasons why people are moving their websites over to Webflow, but some of the most obvious are the complete design control that Webflow gives you, and it's an all-in-one solution, meaning you don't have dozens of plugins that you constantly have to update to keep your website from breaking. I've been building websites in Webflow for nearly 5 years, and it's an awesome platform. So if you're currently in the process of migrating your site over to Webflow, you're making a good choice. I've migrated a ton of websites over to Webflow. I've done some smaller websites that are just a few pages, and they're really straightforward. And I've also migrated over websites that have hundreds of different pages of content, and the whole migration process was pretty complex. Now, the nice part is no matter the size of the website you're migrating, the process is pretty much exactly the same. And so this video and the free checklist that I provide in the description below this video are going to provide all the information that you need to do your migrations effectively. All right, so the goal of a migration is basically to mitigate the loss of traffic and rankings as much as possible. So the first thing that you need to understand and accept is anytime you migrate a website, you need to anticipate some sort of traffic drop. It doesn't happen every time, but it's very normal to see a traffic drop when you move your site over to a new platform. Now, if you do your migration poorly, that traffic is going to continue to drop more and more until you've got no traffic left. So you can see in this screenshot right here an example of a bad migration where the traffic pretty much flatlines and the website is basically as worthless as a brand new website. Now, the reason these types of traffic flatlines happen is because when somebody builds a new website in a platform like Webflow, they forget to translate everything over, and so they just leave Google completely confused about what happened to the old website. Google's unable to find the site, crawl the site, it's unable to identify which pages are which. And so that's the whole point of the migration, is making that transition seamless so Google and other search engines don't have a problem finding your new site and figuring out what's going on in it. So your goal for your migrations should look something like this screenshot. This is a screenshot from a real-life client, easyaccess.com, and we migrated their site just a few years ago, and you can see that we had that first initial drop in traffic, which is to be expected. But because we went through this entire process and did things correctly, after that, their traffic just took off. Now, the reason the traffic took off like this is not just due to the migration. We were also doing other ongoing SEO work, but the other thing that impacts traffic like this is moving a site over to Webflow, because what we see is when a site is old and outdated, just simply moving it over to a platform like Webflow is going to positively impact everything. Webflow websites perform way better. Typically, they load faster. If you've built the site correctly, they're going to look better, which is going to keep visitors' attention longer. Conversions are going to be better, and it's going to be sending way more positive signals to Google. And so this is also going to help traffic. So if you want to see traffic like this, we just have to make sure that you do the migration correctly. Okay, so that leads us to step one, which is setting expectations. Depending on who you're doing this migration for, whether it's for yourself or for a client, you need to set adequate expectations, knowing that after the migration, there's a good chance that traffic might drop, and not trying to oversell that fact or setting too high of expectations. The ideal scenario is a short-term traffic drop, but long-term traffic benefits. So just keep that in mind. Step 2 is preparing the new site. Now this really just depends on who is building the new Webflow site. If you're the one designing and developing this new site, you're going to have a lot more to do to get this site ready for launch. If the site is already built, or even if the site was just recently launched, you're going to want to go through that new site and make sure that it has a similar structure as the old site. You're going to want to make sure that all important pages of the site have some sort of clear replacement. So the pages that you had on your old site should also appear on your new site. And in a future step, we'll talk about what happens when you have to remove pages. Another thing to keep in mind when building this new site is the more drastic changes that you make, the more drastic of an impact it's going to have on traffic, both positive and negative. So one thing that we try to do is figure out what's working on the old site, and then we try to copy or duplicate that on the new site. If the new site looks completely different, if all of the content is new, all of the images, the structure is completely different, all of the links don't match, it's basically a brand new site. So do your best within reason to keep some of the same structure that was working before. All right, so that leads us to step 3, which is benchmarking the current site. So like I said, any good migration is measured. And so you want to track every different indicator to be able to see whether that increases or decreases after the migration. Now, having systems in place to track these different data points before a migration is oftentimes up to the client. So if they don't have Google Analytics or Google Search Console or anything set up yet, it might be difficult. So sometimes you might just have to do your best. But the things that we're going to track are traffic, current rankings, bounce rate, click-through rate, time on page, and conversions. And so if you're not sure how to track these things or how to get this data, here's what I would suggest. For traffic, you can use Google Analytics, which is free. For current rankings, you can use Google Search Console, or you can use a paid SEO tool like Ahrefs and SEMrush. If you're working on a larger migration, I would definitely recommend getting one of those more expensive paid SEO tools. If you want to track bounce rate, you can also use Google Analytics. For click-through rate, you can use Google Search Console, and then for time on page and conversions, you can also use Google Analytics. So for the most part, you're going to be able to use all free tools. And again, if this is a small site or a low-risk migration, you can probably get away without any paid tools. All right, step 4 is get organized. So you want to become familiar with every single page of the website. Don't leave anything behind. The best way to do this is to list out every single page and its URL. And this is something that you can do automatically with the free spreadsheet that I provide down below this video. So once you've found all those pages, you then want to identify which of those pages have high traffic and have backlinks. Now we can't go deep on backlinks in this video, but a backlink is basically any time an outside website links back to a specific page of your website. And then the third step of this is using the free spreadsheet down below to determine which pages you're going to be keeping, replacing, or eliminating. So before I move on to step 5, I just briefly want to introduce this free resource that I have linked down below this video. This is the Webflow migration checklist. This has every single step, so it's going to make it easier for you to track the whole process. Down here at the bottom, there are different tabs. On the second tab, what you're going to be able to do is enter the sitemap URL of the current website. And then what this is going to do is show you over on the third tab all of the links to all of the pages of that website. So once you've got all of those links to the website, you can then go page by page and determine which ones you're going to be keeping, which ones you're going to be getting rid of, and then which ones you're replacing. And then over on the side, you're going to be able to determine which page is the replacement page. And we'll talk about that in just a second. All right, step 5 is on-page SEO, and this is on the new site that you've built. You want to make sure that this new site is high quality, that it's fully optimized. And so what you're going to do for this is be checking all of these different elements. You're going to be checking the title tags, the meta descriptions, open graph images, the page URLs, the heading tags, all of the links, both internal and external links, image file names and alt text, and page performance. So I know that that feels like a lot, but pretty much any paid SEO tool is going to be able to help you through this process. And what I would recommend is using the tool that we built specifically for Webflow. The name of this tool is Semflow, and you can get it inside the Webflow App Store. But this basically shows you all of your different pages, and then within each page, it's going to walk you through every single on-page optimization task, and any errors that the site has, it's going to show you how to fix those. So you basically just let this tool tell you step by step everything to do, and then once you've got that score up to 100%, the site is ready to launch. Now, the one thing that I want to mention with on-page SEO is sometimes this alone is enough to create a drastic increase in traffic after a migration, especially if the old outdated website didn't have any of these things done. So make sure you spend a lot of time on this step, going through and optimizing every aspect of the new website. Step 6 is setting up 301 redirects, and this is quite possibly the most important part of this entire process. A redirect ensures that pages with a new URL will still be found by crawlers and also by humans. So this example that I'm showing you here is a real client site, Alpine Castle Lake Insurance, and you can see that this was the situation we were dealing with. Their old About Us page was, first off, very outdated style-wise, but the link down below you can see was about page 3156. And so we run into a lot of pages like this where the link is kind of crazy or it's not descriptive of what the page is. And so in these cases, on the new website, you're going to want that link to be different. There are also scenarios where you might be removing a page, but you want to redirect that to a closely correlated page that makes sense. So in this instance, I have redirected the old page to this new page, which has a new link slug, which is about-us. Now, the whole point of redirects is to ensure that there aren't broken links out there where people can't find your website. So if that link is broken, not only are people not going to be able to find your site, but any previous work, any previous traffic, or previous backlinks are going to be lost as well. So the first step to setting redirects is determining which pages need a redirect. And so what you're going to do is go through that free spreadsheet. You're going to check every single page and determine what's happening with that page. Is the page going to be removed? And for each one of those instances in the B column, you're going to write out what the new link slug is going to be. And that's going to be the link of the new page on the new website. Now, of course, you want to prioritize pages that have traffic and also have backlinks. So if you want a quick and easy way to check which pages have backlinks, you can use a tool like SEMrush, and it's going to give you a spreadsheet just like this that shows you each page URL and how many backlinks point to that. Every single page that has backlinks should have either a direct page match with same URL, or it should have a redirect set to a new page. Now, Webflow has made setting these redirects super easy. All you need to do is go to the page settings. You're going to click the publishing tab on the left, and then this 301 redirect section is going to give you everything you need to plug in the old path or the old slug, and then the new redirect path. And so it's going to look something like this for my example. We're going to take that old link, plug in the new link, and we're going to add the redirect path. And then once you've done all of your pages, it's going to look something like this inside your Webflow settings. Webflow University has a super helpful video on this, so I'm also going to link to that down below this video. So step 7 is making final website checks. So this is your final chance to just double check everything. You can check all of your on-page SEO, all of your redirects, site quality, and of course, if you're the one that built this new site, you're going to want to do extra quality checks just to make sure the new site is ready to launch. Once you've gone through all of those changes, you move to step 8, which is connecting the domain and launching, which is a really exciting time to see that new website live. The next thing you're going to do in step 9 is submitting a sitemap to Google Search Console. This again is a really easy process, but I would direct you to this video on Webflow University that's going to show you the best way to verify your site with Google and then be able to submit that sitemap. This step should only take you a few minutes. Make sure you don't skip it. And then the final step is reviewing, tracking, and reporting. So you're going to want to use all of the same tools to track what's going on after the migration. I find it helpful to double check these things immediately after the migration, and then 1 month after and 3 months after. Oftentimes that 3-month check-in is where you're going to get the best idea of how things went. If you're doing this migration for the client, make sure that you send this report to them. This is where you're going to provide the most value for them and helping them see that you did a good job. So with that, your migration is done. It's a simple process. It's going to be the same for every single website. Certainly larger websites are going to take longer, but if you follow that free checklist, you're going to be just fine. Now, the last question that I want to answer for you is, how much can I charge for a site migration if I want to start offering this to clients? There is actually a ton of value in these migrations, especially for clients that have websites with lots of traffic and good rankings. Now, there are a bunch of things that you need to consider when pricing these things out. Certainly the size of the website or number of pages, how much traffic they have, and that's going to dictate how high risk this project is. If you're dealing with a client that has hundreds of thousands of site visitors every single month, the migration is going to be very high risk. And so if you're going to be willing to take that on, you want to make sure that you're compensated for it. The other thing you need to consider is timeline and how quickly it needs to be done and how long it takes you. And then of course, whether or not you are the one building the site, because you'll charge extra for that as well. So I can't tell you exactly how much to charge because every single project is going to be different, but I can give you a few baselines here. So my average migration costs probably around $3,000. These are normally sites with about 20 to 50 pages and a considerable amount of traffic. If I'm doing a migration for a smaller website that's maybe around 5 to 10 pages and the site has no traffic, I'm typically not even going to charge for this. If anything, I'll just add this as a bonus to the site build, and it makes it easier for me to provide more value to them as a website client, and I'm able to charge a little bit more. And if I'm working on a site that has over 10,000 monthly site visitors, that's a little bit higher risk. And so for these projects, I'm charging at least $10,000, if not more. Now, these prices are not recurring. These are one-time fees, but it also leads really well into offering ongoing SEO services, which also provides a ton of value to your clients. So that's it for this video. I really appreciate you watching until the end. I hope this is a great resource for you. Make sure you click the link down below to download that free spreadsheet. That's going to be your guide for every single migration. Thanks for watching and good luck.